Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. If you're new around here, I'm your host Scott, and back with me as always is my trusty co-host Dan, and on this week's show we are going to be reviewing the World Championships 2023.
Yeah, I mean, what a championships we've just had. Honestly, one of the best swimming meets we've had for a long time. 9 new world records, multiple world junior records, and from a British point of view, 8 medals, which is their second best performance ever. There were literally times where I thought I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, it was honestly a sensational meet.
Do you know what? And the most exciting thing is there were some big names missing from this meet as well.
Yeah,
there were some huge global superstars and some that didn't even turn up in their best form in Japan. And you just look at the swims that came out of the water and it was incredible. So on this week's podcast, we are going to be reviewing, as we are a UK swimming podcast, we'll touch upon the British swimming performance first. Then we're going to go through swimmers of the meet, Dan, races of the meet. We'll touch upon the Aussie Dominance, of course.
Yeah,
we've got to go over that. The 9 world records that were set, like Dan said, we'll go over those. And then we'll look back on the predictions that we gave and who came out on top between the both of us and maybe where we can improve in the future.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this episode. It's always one of our biggest episodes when the biggest major international meet of the season happens. So there's going to be lots of talk about. I think we just get cracking. Let's just get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to kick things off on the negative side of things. Let's go for the worst point from this meet. As a British swimming fan, this wasn't on terrestrial TV. The only way we could watch it was on All Aquatics, which was the World Aquatics kind of... in fact, I think it's actually LEN or Eurosport. It's their free version of sports coverage, streaming coverage. So we had to sign into a computer, which is... You know what? As a swimming fan, it wasn't the worst. The issue I have with BBC not picking it up is that you're not creating any new fans. This is the whole issue I have with paywalls and swimming. Swimming needs to make money, but you need to grow the fan base probably a little bit beyond what it is, and not putting it on free-to-air television in front of people who are flicking through the channels and want something to watch. And at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, there is going to be no other sport to compare or to compete with. You're just fighting against bargain hunt. Swimming would have been in front of so many kids. Just think of those starting their school holidays. But BBC chose not to pick it up, or you never know, we give them the benefit of the doubt. World Aquatics could have been asking for too much money for the feed rights. But it should have been
difficult. When you've got the Olympics next year, we need to be promoting and increasing the knowledge of the swimmers that we have. I mean, we had new world champions, we had new world medalists, and these guys probably are not known outside of the swimming world. And the whole idea of BBC, for example, is to expose these swimmers and promote them as much as possible. I know Adam wasn't racing, and he is the big name of British swimming, but you still had Tom Dean, Matt Richards, Duncan Scott. You still had big names, but then it's not just getting those guys in front of the camera, it's the other guys, like your Lauren Cox, for example. Get her in front of a camera and show everyone how good she is. You know, that's they missed a trick there, I think, especially with a year out from Paris.
Do you know what? You say Adam is the poster boy. It's the reason that articles weren't hitting. At this point, in swimming 2023, is Tom Dean not a bigger swimmer? In terms of performance-wise on the world scene, is Matt Richards not a bigger performer? Is Duncan Scott?
There is a case for it, absolutely, I agree.
Obviously, Adam's not been in the water. His performances can't back it up, but when you've not been swimming at an international meet at a high level for 2 years, these boys have taken up the mantle, and they're doing a fabulous job. The interviews are thoroughly professional. They are, you watch Duncan's Instagram, they are personalities. They're just as good as Adam in front of a camera. They're brilliant. Yep. So get these guys on terrestrial TV. I was saying to one of the swimmers' parents while the racing was going on and while BBC weren't picking anything up, I wish commercially it made sense for these swimmers to snub BBC at the Olympics next year. But it's the worst decision a swimmer could make is to say, you know what, this is my limelight, I'm going to turn it down. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, I think what really sent people over the edge, I saw a few tweets going around that right at the end of the championships, Tom Daley announced that he's going to be coming back. And of course, he hasn't been diving for the last 2 years, whereas we have had world champions
the diving was really
medalists. The diving was really good, but Tom Daley wasn't there. Like, he shouldn't really be a talking point. Just because he's a big name, he gets all the articles and all the limelight and all that sort of stuff. Whereas Matt Richards, for example, should be the poster boy right now because he was sensational. But there's not much, if anything, talks about him, which is a huge letdown. And like I said, I think it's a big trick missed from BBC.
Hopefully in the year leading into the Olympics now, we can pump Matt's profile up as much as humanly possible on this podcast and beyond.
Him and others,
yeah,
of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about the British performance then, and we'll kind of stick on the negative side of things, because on our preview podcast, we said all that British swimming really want to come away from this meet, and the main goal was relays. Get them qualified for the Olympics so that you don't have to go to Doha. You get your quota spot. And actually those relays have a pretty good chance of medaling come the Olympics, which is where all the funding for swimming comes from in this country. You medal, you get more funding, swimming looks better. I understand the logic with that. Then, the first day, the worst possible outcome happens. We're not going to throw Jacob Whittle under the bus here. Just the whole team, DQ. Not great. Not great thing to kick things off. It does mean they are 100% going to Doha.
Yeah, that's the impression we're getting, and we're laughing now in hindsight because is it funny? I don't know if it's funny actually, to be fair, because they have to go all halfway across the world to go and swim for 3-4 minutes just to make sure they get a time to make sure they can swim at Paris. I suppose it's a big letdown because not only were they hoping to make a final or be on the podium, they had a very good chance of actually winning that race as well.
That's what I'm more disappointed about. Yeah. Not the Olympic qualifying, because yes, there's all this seriousness of getting the Olympic quotas in the relays, but actually top 16 teams in the world, you should be doing that. It should be easy enough for a British swimming squad. But the fact that there was a solid gold opportunity there. Yes, Australia swam faster than the Brits went in their DQ'd heats, but you felt there was more in the tank. You felt, I think Tom Dean had to come back into that relay. Yep. There was a massive gold opportunity, and does it mean now going into the Olympics they're a bit of a sleeping giant? Probably not, because in Doha they'll probably become world champions because they'll be the only team there. But there's a massive opportunity now for 2 GB men's freestyle relay teams to get gold in Paris. And when was the last time we said that? Never.
Oh, never. No, I'm very interested to see how they approach Doha now. Of course, they've got to do that 4x1, but then if you're taking the likes of Matt, Tom, Duncan, maybe even Jacob Whittle or anyone, Lewis Burrows, everyone, do they then turn it into a proper meet? Do you then get Matt doing the 100 and the 200? Do they stay there for the whole week? And then does it become a bit of a domino effect? Actually, if Matt's doing it, maybe Tom should do it. Then Duncan. I don't know. We're not gonna find out for a while.
Stop. They're flying in on the morning and flying out in the evening. If that's possible, if BA or Virgin Atlantic have those flights, Fly Emirates, they're doing that.
Does jet lag not play a part? Well, to be fair, it doesn't matter if they win it, come second or third, as long as they go to the top 16. Time. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just as long as they don't get DQ'd, which I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that again. They're going to literally wait till the swimmer in the water touches the wall. Right, then I'll go. So the takeover time might be like a full second. I imagine that's probably what I would do myself. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, they're going to go to Doha, I imagine, because they're not going to throw away not just a medal opportunity, but Olympic gold medal opportunities. They're not going to throw that away. It's funny how we previewed that, saying what would happen if they did that in a 4x2, and it's the first thing that happened. So, yeah, I suppose we can look back and think of it as a bit of a funny sort of joke, but it's not really. It's a bit quite serious, to be fair. So hopefully it all gets sorted out, but we'll see if they go in and just do the one day or they take it longer. We'll find out.
And that is the negative portion of this podcast done. Right, let's talk about the good stuff then. 8 medals for GBs. Like you said in the preview, the second highest ever, behind 9 in 2015, if I remember correctly. Got to start with the first gold of the week. Matt Richards, the 200 freestyle gold in an event where we had this straight down Popovich day one. Matt showed the form from trials and carried it all the way through, and it shouldn't really be that much of a surprise for British swimming fans, the performances he's putting in at these international meets, given the form from Winters last year. It's just the uptick since going to Millfield has been hugely impressive.
The trajectory has been quite impressive, I must say. Is it a surprise that Matt won? I suppose you could say that Popovich was supposed to win based on what he swam last year, going as 142.9. But I did say to you that we've got a chance of 2 medals here. I didn't think it would be gold.
Medals,
I thought it would be second and third. But to come away with a gold and silver is fantastic news. The fact that we did that in Tokyo and now followed it up at the next major meet, that's pretty good going. And obviously, if we can do that next year, then hey, we're doing really, really well. But I'm really excited to see where Matt can take it now. I'd love to know. We'll ask him if we can get him on the podcast. Like, what is his main event? Is it the 100 or the 200? Honestly, I don't know. I'll pose that to him when if we get him on. But he's doing really well.
Yeah, because you come away from this meet with a 5th in the 100 free and then a first or a gold in the 200 free. You think the 200 is the target, but that 100 was just as impressive. Like the drops that he's made in that to now have a British record on it, and he broke the British record 3 times through competition. Yeah, he didn't quite make the podium. I think he missed it by 0.03, which is incredibly close. Just got beaten by King Kyle, which is like no slouch whatsoever. But to me, that almost becomes just an equal target to the 200 now. Like, there's another chance of a podium in that if everything goes right come Paris.
Yeah, again, if he carries on the trajectory that he is, he could easily get a low 47 by the time next year comes around. And if you're looking at 200, a 143, that's a medal, that's a podium right there. So he could come away, a bit like this year really, he could come away with medals on the relays and then medals on the individuals as well, and then suddenly that's 4 medals. How many medals did Duncan get at Tokyo? 4, I think it was. So then you're talking about he's on the same sort of level playing field as Duncan Scott, and you think, wow, that's amazing.
Mixed 4x1 medley.
Exactly. So you're talking about a swimmer who could potentially be our best swimmer that we've ever had.
He's only 20.
And he's exactly, he's got many, as long as he keeps enjoying it, and obviously the move to Millfield has paid dividends right now. As long as he keeps enjoying it, then who knows where he's going to go. It's very exciting to follow him and keep track of what he's doing at the moment. It really is.
He is certainly a name in world swimming now. Like, if he wasn't already, he most definitely is now. Yes. Should we talk about then his counterpart in the 200 freestyle, who himself only just missed gold by hundredths of a second, Tom Dean. Again, very impressive, and that 2IM alongside the 200 free makes his program like equally exciting. And you think there's a big future in the 2IM because that breaststroke leg, again, came out of nowhere. It's 33.3, matched Duncan, and then had the fastest back half of a 50 out of the whole field by over a second.
That last 50 was pretty special. I mean, going into, he's in lane 8, wasn't he? Or lane 1, one of the outside lanes. And he was nowhere in the race, to be fair. Like, I thought, we're just going to be watching Duncan here. And then the last 50, I don't know what happened. He just put some jets on or something and just flew past the rest of the field to land his bronze. The breaststroke obviously set him up for that last bit of sprint as well at the end. But he is being extremely consistent. He will medal, I think. He's almost like a guaranteed medal, a bit like what Adam was way back when, and every competition. He's a guaranteed medal at the freestyle events. And at the moment, if he carries on doing his IMs like that, I know the IM is a very tough field when you've got Marchand and you've got Carson Foster and Duncan, of course. It's going to be very difficult to podium all the time. But at the moment, if he carries on the way he's going, with the confidence he has as well, who knows how far he can go. He could win just as many medals as Matt potentially next year.
It's really interesting because then you've got Duncan, who in the 2IM got a silver, but again, like, the fight for trials next year for the 200 free, the 200 IM to make the team is just nuts. To think Matt, Tom, and Duncan conceivably could make a world podium or an Olympic podium in the 2 free, but it's just not possible to take all 3 of them.
I actually think Duncan swam really well this meet, seeing as though he wasn't in top form. He wasn't in top form at trials. I think a lot of people would probably agree with, just based on the 200 free time where he went 1:45, which is world class. But when you're dealing with Matt and Tom, it's not so world class in this country, I suppose. Yeah, and Duncan's PBs, of course. But he swam really well. If that's a Duncan off form and he's come away with a silver medal in Worlds, I'd love to see him what he's like when he's back on form again. 155.9, I think he did in that 200 IM. I think he won his silver at Tokyo in 155.2.
Yeah, a bit faster.
Which then would have still been silver because Marchand was head and shoulders.
Yeah, we'll get into
him. But I think Duncan swam really well, and it's quite interesting because that was his only individual race I don't know if that's something that he's going to take away, him, Steve Tigg and Bradley Hay, well, whether they stick with the 200 IM and then maybe scrap the 2-3. That sounds bizarre to me.
I don't think so. You just go for trials and see what happens.
See what happens, yeah. That's what I'm thinking as well.
It is a shame that Duncan wasn't at full, like, in Duncan We Trust mode, because that 4x2 would have then battered the world record, I think, because after his leg and then after Matt's leg, both me and you messaged each other and was like, this isn't happening.
Yeah, it's a shame.
You could see it was just a little bit off. But then they only got within 0.5 because the last two guys, Jimmy and Dino, did exactly what was needed of them on that leg. Yep. And I know we put out a video saying that 4x2 is happening in the near future. It might be a little longer than some people expect because there's quite a bad schedule clash come Paris with the men's 100 meters freestyle. So, like, that might be, I'm just reading between the lines here, that might be why the four of them on that podium looked like they had lost a world gold rather than won a world gold. That might be what was just nagging in their back of the minds, that come the Olympics, it's a little bit tougher to hit that world record. Well,
should we go back to a little bit of negativity? Because whoever made that program up to have the 100 free and the 4x2 in the same sessions, I think it was the heats and the semis or something like that, that just doesn't make sense. Are you trying to get these swimmers to not perform at their absolute best and hit these world records potentially? Yeah, that's bizarre to me. But it was quite interesting watching their reaction, to be fair, to the 4x2 gold. You looked at when Tom hit the wall and they all looked at the board and they didn't hit their world record and they were like, oh,
that's such the standard that this relay team now wants. Gold is bare minimum. I feel
comes across that way. Yeah. Obviously, the world record is the target, and they didn't hit it, so probably to them it's kind of a failure, I suppose. But it's a world gold. We'll see what happens in Paris. But I think it's going to happen. But we do need all four of them to be firing to be able to hit it. And you can't just have, let's say, the two of them do what they were supposed to do. We do need all four of them to do it, but it can happen.
They had a little fly in the ointment out in Japan this year that Jack McMillan didn't actually end up racing the heats. He pulled out of racing this summer for personal circumstances, as far as we're aware. Had he been a heat swim, you might have a slightly fresher Matt, essentially, or I can't even remember who did the heats now. I mean, we did, didn't he? You'd have two more backup swimmers in the heats, which gives you two fresher guys. I think that might have just been a little bit of the factor, but
who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? We're reading between.
We'd never find out. Yeah, we'd never find out.
Right, who else then from British swimming stood out? Shall I touch upon first-time world medalist Lauren Cox? Because she was almost first-time gold medalist. Very close of beating, like, the outstanding two backstrokers at this meet, Kaylee McKeown and Regan Smith. She was within a fingertip of beating them both and kind of upsetting them both.
Yeah, she was pretty much level the whole race, really, wasn't she? And it just came down to the finish. Lauren will take huge confidence and huge belief from that swim to be, well, she was 0.01, I think, 100th off the British record as well. So that will obviously now be a target to try and get Kathleen Dawson's record. But yeah, to be competing and getting as close to Kaylee and Regan as she was, that is massive. And these two girls, Kaylee and Regan, are the best backstrokers we've ever seen, period. And the fact that she's keeping up with them, I know it's a 50 and it's supposed to be closer, but that's very good going halfway across the world. That's a very good medal, and one we didn't predict.
I know it's not an Olympic event, being a 50 backstroke, which is a whole nother discussion for a whole nother podcast. But like you said, hopefully this is a massive confidence builder. And you can tell the British swimming coaches have a lot of confidence in her, in the fact that for the women's medley relay, she was picked ahead of Medi.
Yes.
That just shows the form that she was in. And her 100 back is coming down. She broke a minute for the first time this year, and it's still falling.
Yeah, I think going back to the 50s, that is it will be another conversation. Do we get the 50s into the Olympics? And if we can get Lauren on the podcast, I think that's probably something we should probably talk about. But it's a good thing that she is able to not only do the 50, but do a good solid 100 as well. I assume with the year that she's about to have with the lead up to Paris, that the 100 back will now be the target.
100%.
So it's good that she's got the early speed. It's now trying to build up the speed endurance, I suppose, to make sure that she can finish just as strong as she does on the 50. So, yeah, I'm actually very excited for Lauren. I'm very pleased that she's able to get onto the team yet again and then come away with a medal that, like I said, I don't think anyone predicted it, actually, looking back. She beat Catherine Burkhoff, who did amazing at the American trials. So that's a very good medal, and I'm very happy for her.
Okay, so that's 6 of the medals that British Swimming have won. The last 2 then, Ben Proud in the 50 metres freestyle winning a bronze, and the mixed 4x1 freestyle relay again winning a bronze. Now, to me, the mixed 4x1 wasn't really a surprise given the form that Matt was in. We know Duncan's an ever-reliable freestyle relay swimmer, and then the same can be said for Anna Hopkin, Freya Anderson. They pretty much always deliver on the back end of those relays. Yeah. Shame, again, it's not really an Olympic event, so 2 of GB's medals aren't Olympic events if you want to read into that too much. But then you think there was potentially another medal there for the 4x1 if they hadn't got DQ'd. And then Ben, we went into the meet with some big British bias on our shoulders and got a bit carried away with ourselves and ignored Cam McAvoy, which we were stupid to do. For someone who was as far as he was ahead of the world going into the meet, to go even further ahead of the world, go a 21-0 and fully rattle that world record.
Yeah.
Gives a good target now for Ben and some extra motivation going into Paris because he knows a 21-4 or a 21-5 is not going to cut it.
That's true, yeah. And he only had good things to say about Cam as well. Both vice versa, actually. Cam to Ben and Ben to Cam. That will be a very good race come Paris. Will Ben be able to get back down to levels that got him his British record of 21-1? It's a big ask because that is he has to. So if he wants to win gold, if he can go 21-1, he's won silver. If Cam goes the same time, Cam was just sensational. In our predictions, I think we kind of overlooked Cam just because we wanted Ben to win, but going in, if you're going 21-2 into a championship and then he hits a 21-2 in the heats, I believe, you're not losing. You're not losing, and then he goes a 21-0. That is flying.
He went faster through every round, which is almost unheard of in the 50s. The fact that final, he was so relaxed, he held the water perfectly. He swam away from the field. His back half, it's stupid to say the back half in the 50 freestyle, but it can be broken up into a front and back half when someone swims it like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's holding the water so well. I think once the breakout happens, you got your Ben Prouds in front because he's so good at that. But then once the first 4 breakout strokes are sort of done, you then have Cam just accelerating. I've never seen anything like it. I know Caleb Dressel did it in Tokyo, but he has it because of this start, so he's already at the front. But you see Cam coming through the field. Honestly, sensational. What a swim.
Do you know, I'd love to see if he actually hit the fastest swim speed of all time.
I bet
because I
far
feel
away.
Like it was possible.
Yeah, I bet he wasn't far away. His technique is flawless, as every Australian freestyle is. But that was a fantastic swim. And going back to Ben, will he be able to stand on a podium again? It's the
podium.
The 53 is always the 53 is always a coin flip, but he's got an extra flip, if you like. He's got 2 chances, if you like, because he's very good at his 50 freestyle. Didn't quite happen for him on his 50 fly, but the 53 is where his head is at, obviously, with Paris at the forefront of his mind now, anyway.
Absolutely. So GB come away from these championships with 8 medals. Now, we went into the meet. What did we say, Dan? We said 6.
A conservative
we said a conservative 6 and wanted to be safe because we knew the world of swimming was in a very, very fast place.
Yes.
We didn't quite know where some of the British swimmers were. They blew the doors off, and I would say a hugely successful meet.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you. And it's not just the one swimmer getting all the medals. It was actually quite a few different swimmers, and I think that's really good, showing that we have the depth in multiple events, different distances as well, which is very good to see. Obviously, some swimmers didn't quite perform at their very best, but it's impossible to perform at every single meet. But I think we did really well, and 8 medals is that matches our total from Tokyo, and we were very pleased with our Tokyo results, so we have to be pleased with 8 again. But I know 2 of them won Olympic events, but again, the 4x1 could have been another medal, so let's just say 7 or 8. So it's very good going, very good going.
Should we talk about then the Brits who didn't make the podium but still impressed, because there are some big ones to talk about. Ollie Morgan, his progression in the 100 back in 2023 is nothing short of astonishing. Like we've been saying for so long on this podcast, British swimming needs to find a fast 100 backstroker for a medley relay that is close to missing Adam Peaty's peak. Now, I think they found him, and I'll put it out here, I'd be fairly confident, he says, with like a wobble in his voice, that Ollie can get down to a 52 point.
Oh God, yeah. It's difficult to say with absolute certainty, but if he carries on the way that he's going, I think a 52 point is on the cards, and that will be his biggest aim going into next season. Absolutely. And the fact that he's able to go 53.2, I think, is what he did
in the relay, yeah.
Yeah, and quite a consistent now. So he's going 53 threes, 53 twos every time he jumps in the pool, which is outstanding. That's very good from a British point of view. That's what I think Luke did at its very best. So the fact that Ollie's now taken up that mantelpiece, he's now the number 100 backstroker. I think that's quite certain to say. And if he's able to go a 52 point anything, that puts us in a good place in the medley relay. And I think that's why we actually did quite well in the men's 4x1 medley. I think we kind of disregarded it, but actually Ollie put us in a pretty good spot just because of his opening leg.
Now, the reason we are so confident that Ollie Morgan can go a 52 point is because we've heard the backstory from Ollie himself. We've heard that he's only really been training at like 20 hours a week for the past year, maybe 18 months at this point of recording. We've spoken to his coach, Gary Humpage, and the program that they have at the University of Birmingham isn't quite like these big elite setups at Loughborough and Bath, but it's certainly getting the best out of Ollie, and we kind of... we knew something was on the cards for a while. That's why we spoke to Gary ahead of... Well, it was like 6 months ahead of British Champs we spoke to Gary.
I think it was, yeah.
And it's a hugely encouraging sign that he came 2 ninths. Shame he didn't make his first international final, but he held himself against the best backstrokers in the world and didn't look overruled in the slightest. I'd be happy putting him next to Ryan Murphy in a lane, and fine.
Oh,
jobs are good.
Yeah. And he actually did, and this is not just the 100, this is the 200 as well. I think he went to 157 low going top of
was ninth.
Memory here, which is really good. I think one thing that I was disappointed with was that he didn't go into the 50 backstroke. Why wasn't he allowed to go into that race? He's already there. Might as well plonk him in. Who knows what he would have done in that? But that would be my only...
I think the medley relay, they got a little bit scared of what time they could go. They could have missed the final, conceivably. They qualified 8th, didn't they?
Yeah.
For the final. And Italy, who the hell would have put down that Italy would have missed the final? And then suddenly, you're in that danger zone of not qualifying for the Olympics because your 9th fastest time in the heats is the time that you've got to take forward, and you never know, 8 teams might go pretty fast in Doha. That would be the only reason in my head that they rested him. But I think he could have done something in the 50 back.
Yeah, so do I. This is what I'm a little bit disappointed with. I mean, he's more than fit enough, that all of these swimmers are, to be able to just do an extra 50. Bit of a shame on that from that point of view, but the rest of the swims, again, like you say, I'd be confident with him going next to Ryan Murphy or anyone in the rest of the backstroke world. He's on the right path. He's going the right way about things. He's got a great partnership with Gary, like you were saying, and I assume he's going to carry that on, because why would you change it right now? You're getting the best results out of him. So long may that continue. I think he's got a good competition from Cam Brooker as well. As well as all the other younger swimmers. Brodie Williams is still going. Luke Greenbank will come back. So we've got competition for Ollie. It's not all plain sailing, but he is, I think, the number 1 backstroker for us right now.
Yeah. Should we talk then about Jacob Peters? So he really impressed me in the 50 metres butterfly, coming, was it 4th? And just missing his first his first world's podium. Then I expected big things in the 100, and it didn't quite fire. But what I would say is it's massively encouraging signs moving forwards that Jimmy has some big competition in the 100 fly now. It's not like Jimmy's been in that medley relay team for 10 years. He's been immovable, essentially, in most relay teams. Suddenly, Jacob is giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, interestingly, both Jacob and Jimmy kind of swam the same race when it comes to 100 fly. They
took
went
it
out
out hard.
really well to the first 50 meters and then just kind of faded away the last 15, 20 meters or so. That shows that they've been practicing their early speeds. As you could tell by Jacob's underwaters, how good have they got?
Yeah.
So he was
His
challenging
first-
Ben Proud on that.
Well,
and
in the 50 fly, he was first to 15 comfortably, like half a
And
body length.
And I've always said that Ben Proud has the second best start in the world if you throw Dressel in there, and he beat him on that one occasion. That is serious speed to 15. So they've been practicing that clearly.
Your best start in world swimming. I'm going to challenge you a little bit later on in this podcast. I've got something to put to you, so we'll test that one out.
All right. Tease people, thanks. But yeah, going back to Jacob Peters, I think he did really well. The 100, I think he was more focused on the 50 fly after the trials that he had in Ponds Forge. He swam that really well to go. I think it was at least top 5 in the world. I think that time. So I think that was probably the main focus. I don't know, maybe
It's British
the 100
swimming,
fly
the main focus is the Olympic events.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but maybe this year was all about the opening speed, and then this next year will be trying to, a bit like Lauren, for example, trying to get back the speed endurance for the last 25 meters or so. Maybe that's part of the grand plan. Who knows? But he swam really well and very unlucky not to get a podium. That would have been amazing.
Who else impressed then? Freya Colbert and Katie Shanahan. So Freya Colbert came away with a 5th in the 400 IM. I think come the Olympics, like she's going to go under the radar slightly because a 5th isn't going to get headlines or get talked about. But there's a potential medal there. Like, she is still young. She's still she's only had 1 year with Dave Hemmings, whose squad did pretty well. Again, like, they were the standout squad at trials quite comfortably.
Yep.
I think next season, like, that is a solid podium chance for her.
For the 400 IM, yes, definitely.
Yes.
Absolutely, I agree. And she swam really well. I mean, she did the opening leg for the 4x2, which was a PB. 156.1, I think it was. That's a PB. So, like Ollie, she's on the right trajectory, and PBs are happening all of the time. So if she's able to, she PB'd in the 4IM as well. I don't know if I just said that, but she PB'd in that as well, and if she can carry on reducing that time on the 4IM, a medal is within grasp, definitely. I mean, if you take out Summer McIntosh, because she is by far and away the best 400 IM swimmer on the planet right now, but the bronze is up for grabs, definitely.
Yeah.
Casey Grimes is also very good. Let's say the bronze is up for grabs. So Freya is doing really well, and her backstroke is phenomenal, and it poses questions whether she should probably enter that as an individual itself.
Do you know, like... Okay, so from my reasoning for her not entering the 200 back is what happened to Katie Shanahan in the 400 IM. So Katie Shanahan's 200 back, she went through the rounds, very impressive, came 4th, went a 2:07 and a new Scottish record, and then swam the 400 IM the very next day. And you could see in that final, her legs were taken from her a little bit, because 3 rounds of 200 backstrokes is tough. Is really tough. And then Freya Colbert, for a comparison, could have swam the 200 back, but didn't, because, well, you saw the result in the 400 IM. She came 5th and a PB. I think that's just the difference, and that's why I wouldn't swim Freya in the 200 back, even if she is a world's final quality. And I've got a big bugbear about that 200 back, because the final 8th in the final went to 2:11.
Yeah, I know. I was going to bring up, and we did a little bit of comparison, didn't we? So it's to qualify for a final for the 200 back on the women's side, you had to go world record plus 8, I think it was. There's no other 200s in any of events, male or female. If you go that time, you are way out. You're not qualifying for the semis, I don't think. So it's a bizarre event. But then when the final comes around, to get a podium is nigh on impossible. It's a bizarre event. So if Freya wants a final, and probably a guaranteed final with a 2:08 that she can do, 200 back is the way to go. But her event is the 400 IM, and the way that she's going, she's hitting PBs every time. She might as well carry on doing it. The breaststroke is getting stronger, and you could tell by Katie Shanahan, like, the legs were shot on that breaststroke leg. Nothing was really happening for her. But going back to her 200 backstroke, to come 4th, that's a very good effort. And the way she swims it as well, kind of Kaylee McKeown kind of esque, that she kind of builds up as the race goes on, which is encouraging, I think.
It's a big shame that we didn't get to see what she was capable of in the 200 IM, thanks to the DQs galore.
Yeah, that was a big talking point, wasn't it? That was a bit of a turn for the books. And honestly, I don't know if you've seen any of these.
I think they were all
DQs.
right.
They were all correct. Absolutely, I agree. I think the one, who was it? Was it Alex Walsh? I can't remember who it was.
She didn't get DQ'd, and she should.
Yeah, and absolutely should have done. But I think there's a lot to be taken away from this on the backstroke to breaststroke turn. What is it? It's a crossover turn, isn't it? Because a lot of these swimmers are not taking advantage. I just don't think they've been corrected, because why would you? They are going onto their fronts. And Summer McIntosh has now actually gone back almost like 2 steps, if you like. She's just doing a touch turn. So interesting. I don't know how that's going to develop as the years go on, or the next season actually. But yeah, interesting. Do we go back to just doing the backflip to just stop these DQs from happening?
Oh, do you know what? I heard some debate on the commentary because of it, and they were just like, well, just let them do a backstroke turn. I was like, no.
What?
No.
That doesn't make sense to me. Who said that?
You just flip over and just do an actual stroke and a proper tumble turn. I was like, no, it just destroys one of them most important skills. Stop it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
You're changing swimming.
Yeah, don't need to do that. I'm kind of glad that these DQs are being picked up. Like before, was it American trials, wasn't it, with the breaststroke pullout and the extra dolphin kicks, or the breaststroke, the fly kicks during the breaststroke stroke? They are being picked up now. Which I think is good. We need to stop all of this stuff, but
it was just
interesting.
Ironic that it all came in one massive spurt in the first day in the 200, and then nothing for the rest of the meet.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just trying to send a message in some sort of way. But,
it worked.
It did work. Yeah, same with the same with the American trials as well. They suddenly stopped doing the extra fly kick or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a good thing, and it stops all the cheating from happening, and then we actually have some proper fair races. So I can't complain about it, but it's just a shame, because actually Katie didn't get DQ'd for that. I think she actually did a false start. She was like, oh, Katie. Yeah, so yeah, unfortunate from that point of view, because she's got a very good chance in the 200 IM as well, even though that's a very stacked event in the women's side.
Well, suddenly it wasn't, but yeah.
Yeah, oh well, yeah.
Okay, that's all the Brits done. Shall we talk about Aussie Dominance? And we'll start off, I guess, on the back of those DQs is Kaylee McKeown. So for me, like the spark for her meet was actually that DQ in the 200 IM. It could have, her mentality could have been one of a victim. She could have just packed it in then, and we knew the meet she was capable of. She was capable of 3 golds. She could have packed it in, and her mindset could have gone after getting DQ'd in what was a medal potential race for her.
Yes.
No, she comes back, I think it was the very next day, wins the 100, which to me and you, we thought Regan Smith was the stronger candidate in, then does the 50, and then backs it up with the 200, and all of them were pretty close to world record speed as well. She was voted swimmer of the meet by World Aquatics, and undeniably she was one of the best females there, especially doing the triple in the backstroke events. Yeah,
she had a pretty big program, didn't she? She had the 3 backstrokes, the 200 IM, and then of course the medley relays as well on top of that. Yeah, she did really well. Kind of a shame that we didn't get to see her in a final at the 200 IM, because maybe she would have got a medal in that as well. But she is really setting the tone over there in Australia. I know we're going to talk about the Australian freestyle right now, which has completely ripped the doors off completely. But yeah, Kaylee McKeown, every time she gets in, she's a threat to the world record. She came really, I think the closest world record she came to was the 100 back, again 0.1 off, I believe. She was, I think for me, she was always going to win the 200. I didn't think she was actually going to get on the podium for the 50, because when you have like Regan there, and you have Catherine Burkhoff, and there's another girl who I now can't think of, they were, I would say, the sprinters. I would say Kaylee's more 200, where you've got Regan's more 100. So that's probably, well, I was a coin flip on the 100. I had no idea who was going to win that. Yeah, but she's doing amazingly well, and I think she's going to be on top of the backstroke world for many years, because she's still in her early 20s right now.
22.
Yeah, that's crazy. She's going to be there for a while. Yeah, going to be there for a while.
Very long time, and it wouldn't surprise me if she ends up having all the world records, like the 50 included.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not going to disagree with you. I think she could potentially get all of them as well. Yep.
Okay, so you said it then. The Aussie freestyle dominance. Just how dominant is dominant, Dan?
Well, it doesn't take much research, but there's 17 freestyle events, right? You have the 12 individuals, 6 for men, 6 for women, and then you have the relays as well. So there's 17 freestyle events. Australia won 10 of them. That's insane. That does not happen. That is unbelievable how well they've done there. Not just winning goals, but breaking world records as well. And not just world records. We're talking about the longest world records and the hardest world records to break as well. Molly O'Callaghan, let's just start with her. She was exceptional. 100, 200 relays. She will just, every time she gets in, the way she swims it, kind of Chalmers-esque, how she turns back last
It's not
and then comes back.
It's better than Chalmers.
It is better than Chalmers, but as a comparison, he's the closest one. And she's, 19? Something like that, I think, 19, 20. She's just going to get better and better. Is she going to break the 100 world record eventually? Yeah, I think so. If she can do the 200, I think she's going to get the 100. It's a very fast time, that Sostrom hit, mind you. But, she did absolutely amazing.
I fully blame Mr. Brett Hawke and his overactive thumbs on Twitter for us and probably a lot of other people being undercooked on how well we thought Molly was going to do at this meet, because he put out straight after Aussie Trials, she dislocated her knee, she's not going, and we kind of always knew that she was going to Worlds, but there was always a lingering doubt that how bad that knee is, because once someone said it's been dislocated, that's pretty bad.
That's a bad injury, yeah.
So had we not had that information, like going into Worlds, she would have, without a shadow of a doubt, we would have picked her for the 100 and the 200. Yeah, absolutely no doubt in that.
I completely agree.
Would we have picked her to break Pellegrini's 200 free record? No.
Ooh.
I don't
been
think
close.
so.
I think you know what Titmus did in 153.0 or 53.1. I would have put her around there. So I wouldn't have. She got close, but Titmus did it. She did it anyway, which is quite incredible. And Titmus actually went that time anyway herself.
Yes,
just amazing, absolutely incredible in general. The women's team is just phenomenal, and we haven't even spoken about Emma McKeown. She didn't even. Obviously, she was the main swimmer at Tokyo, but she didn't get an individual medal at all. But of course, she's come away with all the relays and world records, because the women's freestyle, they hit a world record every time they get in the water at the moment. It's phenomenal what they're doing. So we've spoken about Titmus and O'Callaghan and Emma McKeown as well, but who would you say is the best? Or who would you say was your standout Australian freestyler?
So what are we going then? There's 5 of them, really, isn't there? There's O'Callaghan, Titmus, Sam Short.
He did very well. Yeah,
he did extremely well. Kyle Chalmers and Cam McAvoy. And it's, oh God, because Cam got so close to that world record, man.
Yeah, he did.
I've got to go O'Callaghan.
Yeah.
Purely because I never, I did think the Pellegrini world record would go, but in my mind I wasn't ready for it to go.
yeah, okay.
If that makes any sense. And then behind her, I'd go... Oh, I've got to rank them in order here, haven't I?
It's going to be very difficult.
I go O'Callaghan, McAvoy, Titmus, Short, Chalmers. Whew. And I can't believe Chalmers is bottom of that list.
Yeah, especially when he hits 46s for fun in his relays. It's amazing what he does. Sam Short, we haven't spoken about Sam Short very much. He had a brilliant dance partner with Ahmed Hafnoui. I didn't realise Ahmed Hafnoui was able to go up to the 8 or even the 1500.
15.
He did incredibly well. Just mentor. Both the 800 and the 1500 were up there with races than meet. As we kind of predicted, the men's distance scene is just on fire at the moment, and we didn't even have Hafnoui in there because I just thought he's a 400 swimmer. You know, the 400 is kind of like a mixture of a bit of speed and a bit of distance. It's kind of like your middle ground type thing. But then he's able to go up to the 8 and the 15. Incredible. It's just another name to add to the list for the Olympic final next year. We've spoken about Cam McAvoy. 21.0 is fast. I nearly swore there. That is very fast. Chalmers, Short, Titmus. Who would I pick? I think I'd agree Molly O'Callaghan is the number one. Titmus's 400 free world record was sensational as well. Since I thought Summer McIntosh was going to win that one. That one impressed me a lot. Overall, it's very difficult to pick one or two. I'm just going to go the whole team. Yeah. Just amazing. Just awesome.
And for both of us, comfortably team of the meet, contrary to what World Aquatics for some reason put out?
Well, I don't really understand it. I know America
I think
won.
there was a scoring system that meant America won. Not that I agree with it.
Is it FINA points or something? Is it based on that?
I think it's something like 7 points for a gold, 5 for a silver, 3 for a bronze, and 1 for a fourth. Something like that.
Well,
but if that's the case or whatever, it needs rethinking because you don't win that many golds and not win team of the meet.
Well, if that is the case, then obviously America are going to win every time because the country is so fast and they can have more swimmers in the meets than your GB, for example. So of course they're going to have more medals because they've got more. The odds are more likely.
They take like 40 odd swimmers, don't they?
Well, exactly. Yeah. How many did we take? 30. Something like along those lines. So of course we're going to have less chance of winning it. And Australia, I don't know how many they took, but it'd be less than America as well. But
I think you'd be surprised there. I think it might be about the same level at this meet.
I don't know about checking. I've made that up. But yeah, I mean, I suppose you're relating to the Kate Campbell comments here on.
What do you reckon of this then? Do you think her big up speech, "I hate America," has gone too far?
When she says it like that doesn't sound great. I'm all up for rivalry.
She didn't say it in those words. But
okay,
well,
as long as it's not hate, like as long as there's a healthy competition, and the fact that she is challenging America to be better, I suppose, because I think Australia were the top team, and it wasn't close for me. You've got to base it on golds, as it always has been. And I think Kate Campbell she's stirring the pot a little bit, which I don't really mind. I think it gets more eyes on the sport, a bit of rivalry. You see it in the boxing. The more trash talk you throw at each other, the more it builds up the fight. Kind of the same thing, especially when you're leading into Paris, the Olympics, the pinnacle of the sport. It does need building up. So I don't mind it. I actually think it's quite good. But as long as she stays within limits of I hate America. Maybe you shouldn't say that, but I don't think she said that. Okay, right, yeah. I didn't actually see the video. I've just seen little clips of it. So, yeah, I don't mind it. I don't know if you agree.
I think more of the above, please. Swimming needs some drama.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, then. So that's the Aussie dominance. Should we talk about dominance elsewhere in the pool? Because there were 9 world records set. We've touched upon a few of them, obviously, by talking about the Aussies. But let's talk about the men's 400 IM and Leon Marchand.
Mega.
Because we went into this meet fully expecting him to break that world record. 100%? Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm pretty
so.
certain.
Yeah.
For him to knock that much off it, no, didn't expect that.
No. Watching it, I didn't watch it live, I was working, but watching it back, when he finished the breaststroke leg and he was ahead by, what was it, over 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Might have even been 3 seconds, I can't even remember now. But you're like, oh, he's done it. He's broken the record. That was set. But then the question came about like, oh my God, how much is he going to beat it by? And to be basically the best part of 1.5 seconds is humongous. That is massive, especially the world record that he was trying to beat as well.
It made that look like the easiest record in the books.
Oh,
but it wasn't. That was the hardest.
That's the hardest one. Yeah, I mean the breaststroke leg is just stunning. There's no one in the world that can live with it. To go 67 in the middle of a 400 IM, and then that final turn. Yeah. Holy moly! I don't even think Phelps could do that. That was an amazing turn to go. I think it was 13, 14 meters underneath the water.
And I think Phelps can go that distance, but not that speed.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of tell his first stroke was, and then he carried on. But yeah, and then he came back in a 28. I want to say 28 low. That's quick. Very good, very impressive. I don't know what else there is to say about it other than everyone was kind of speechless, like, wow, what has he just done? That is just monumental.
I cannot wait for him going into Paris now. Like, he is fully the poster boy out of that games, and the eyes that are now going to be on that swimming pool is like we said at the start of this podcast, more people need to watch swimming. Suddenly in Paris, that is going to be a highly televised, anticipated sport simply because he's in the pool. And it's not he's not just there for the 400 IM. He won gold in the 200 fly. He probably he wouldn't have won gold in the 200 breaststroke. We'll get to that world record. But he won gold in the 200 IM, and the French medley relay is something coming through as well.
Yeah, it's getting there.
he's not just there for one day. He's going to be there for multiple days throughout the whole of the Olympics. And Paris needs someone like him in the swim pool, and they've got him.
Well, I think Marchand's career is going to be long associated with Phelps because he does his same events: 400 IM, 200 IM, 200 fly. Has the same coach, same swimming arena, training setup, etc., etc. I suppose the question is, he's got the 400 IM world record. Is he going to end up targeting the 200 IM? I know it's not Phelps's world record, but it's still a record that Phelps once had. Is he going to target that world record as well?
Do you know, I like going into this meet, I thought it was entirely unreasonable that people were suggesting that world record could go, because that one's like almost as fast as Biedermann's 2-3. Like, it felt as untouchable. It's not untouchable now. Like, it's, no way. Like, I'm not putting anything past him yet, because I don't know what his limit is. Because potentially he could go sub 4 minutes 4 a.m.
That's mad, isn't it? The fact that people are thinking that. Could he though, to find another 2 seconds in that 400 IM? That is big. I don't know how much he can improve on his breaststroke leg, because that is
the freestyle. The freestyle
point.
Can improve.
It is the freestyle. I think I want to.
Maybe his backstroke as well.
That's what I think. I think the freestyle is probably the weakest one. The backstroke is quite solid, and if you compare Phelps' split to Marchand's split, it's
right.
not too dissimilar. But it's the freestyle that's the difference. That's obviously the main target. But then the 200 IM, that is a very tough world record. I think that was the first world record to be hit past the super suits.
Certainly,
I think got that right.
Yeah, Lochte took it down to a ridiculous
one. Yeah. So I think it's definitely on the cards for him, but he's got to improve that freestyle, I think, if he's got a chance of breaking that world record.
Other individual world records then, and we've got to touch upon this swimmer, because we've touched upon Kaylee McKeown doing the triple. The other swimmer to do the triple was breaststroker Haiyang. I hope I've pronounced that right. I think I have. To blow Zach Stubblety-Cook's 200 breaststroke world record out the water by close to 0.5 of a second, and to put Adam Peaty on notice in the 100 breaststroke, that is some serious business at an international meet, and he might just be the most exciting breaststroker in the pool right now.
Well, we've long said, I think a lot of people will agree, that 50 and 100 breaststroke is completely different to the 200. You just look at the physiques of Peaty and Stubblety-Cook. But then you look at Haiyang's physique, and he looks like Peaty. Kind of the same as Peaty. And so when I watched that breaststroke world record that he hit, and he went out in a 60.7, just like, oh, he's going to blow up. Surely he's just going to hold on while Zach Stubblety-Cook comes back at him. He hit pretty much the same split as Zach on the final 50.
Yep.
What? What has just happened?
Yeah.
Just amazing.
He almost swam it the way that Elijah Winnington swims the 400 free, like that middle 50, the third 50. He kind of backed off slightly and then went again, and it was so impressive, and something just that amazing. A 100-meter breaststroker shouldn't be able to do.
No, but there's.
I guess the triple was always fairly possible before Adam Peaty came around. Or actually, no, I lied. Before Cam Vanderberg came around.
Yeah, true. I suppose the closest one was the Japanese breaststroker Kitajima. I suppose he would have been the closest one to be able to do it, but he never really had the 50-meter speed.
This is true.
He was able to do the 1 and 2 because, well, back then he was a phenomenon back then, but then you obviously get the new blood coming through. I didn't think the 50, 100, 200 was possible in breaststroke, to be perfectly honest with you. Looking at the size that he is, I thought, 50 and 100, that's his game. And then in the semis, he went at 207. I thought, oh, blimey. Maybe he has got something in the.
And Zach did go comfortably past him in that semi-final swim.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Which then, that's why I thought, well, if he's going out 60.7, then he's just going to blow up. But then again, if you think about it, that's PB plus 3 to a 100-meter split. Right. That's actually, I suppose, quite comfortable, really. So it's amazing what he's just done, and I suppose maybe we should probably watch out for him a little bit more. But he's definitely put Adam Peaty on notice. That's going to be a huge showdown if Adam's able to get back to where he was before he stopped for a while. That's going to be massive. I suppose we used to talk about how Kaminga was Adam's biggest rival. I think it's now Haiyang. Just awesome. Can't wait for it.
Other world records to go then. The women's 50 freestyle, Sjostrom knocks time off that one, which I didn't see coming again. But she's really in good form in the 50s. And Ruta Militite knocks time twice. Well, no, she leveled it in the semi-finals and then took the 50-meter breaststroke world record. Dan, the 50s were flying on the final day, or the final 2 days. There was certainly something in the water. And I'll pose to you this. If it was a race to 5 meters... Does Ruta win all day of the week?
Male and female, I think. She has the best reactions. Absolutely. We talk about first to 15 all the time, but if you want to say first to 5, Ruta wins. Her reactions are by far the best in the world, and that's after coming back. She was quicker before. You know, when she won her gold in London, she was quicker then. And the fact that she's just broken that world record in the 50 breaststroke is going some, especially when you look at Pilato and you think, the stroke rate is suiting Pilato here. It's her race, it's her world record. But now Ruta could be the first person to actually break 29 for that 50 breaststroke. That's going some. I don't know what she's done in her time off, but she's just, gotten stronger. Her 100 breaststroke was very good as well.
Back.
Yeah, she's obviously just enjoying it, and that shows how important it is to enjoy your swimming, because then you can throw down great times like this. It's great to watch. And then you have Sarah Sjostrom in the 50 freestyle, and if anyone predicted that she would break the world record in that race, I think you'd be lying to yourself. I don't think anyone saw that coming. It's very interesting that she just concentrated on the 50s at this competition. I'm going to throw this to you actually. Seeing as it's Olympic year next year, the 50 fly is not obviously going to be part of it. Does she then go for just the 50 free, or will she go up to the 100 and the maybe 100 fly as well?
Nah, she'll go up to the 100 fly. I think she probably sees her world record under threat there as well and goes back for it. I guess it depends on the long-standing elbow injury that she had going into Tokyo. You hope that's fully healed now, and you hope she can go up to the 100. But you've also got the fact that if she concentrates on the 100 fly really for a good year or so, the Swedish medley relay team is gonna be pretty good. They've always got some good depth there. I think you still go up. You're Sarah Sjostrom. You can swim hundreds world class.
Yeah, I wonder if she's taken the same sort of method as, let's say, of Jacob Peters, Lauren Cox, where she's been focused on the 50 speed, the early speed, and then this next year will be, again, bringing the speed back. I wonder if that's part of the tactic here. She obviously goes into Paris favourite for the 53. I'd actually put the gold around her neck right now, but it's just whether she can hold it over 100 metres now, which I still think she can, but the competition is definitely there, especially 100 free. My gosh, if she's able to beat Molly O'Callaghan, then that's a showdown and a half. That would be amazing. So yeah.
Okay, so we quickly talk about then some other top races at the meet, because we've been nattering on now for a good hour plus and people don't want to listen to us too much longer. We've already kind of spoken about it, but the men's 1500 meters freestyle was potentially the best battle of the week for me. The fact that it came down to 0.05 of a second between Bobby Fink and Hafanui, just an unbelievable head-to-head. Just hand them both the gold. Fully deserved it. Again in the 800 between Hafanui and Sam Shaw and Bobby Fink. It was incredibly good. Summer McIntosh, it was really impressive to see after the letdown of the 400 meters freestyle that she could then get better through the meet. You thought that, I've heard some people say that she quit on the 400 freestyle. I'm not quite sure on that. I think she was just swimming herself into form, and then she came away from the meet with a very impressive end goal of the 400 IM on the last day. Just showed that she got better through the rounds. And then quickly, Grosset in the 100 fly for France, winning that one with no Milak, no Dressel, was really impressive. The second fastest ever split in the 100 fly. I think he went at 49.2, which is absurdly fast. Try doing that in freestyle. Ryan Murphy was Ryan Murphy as ever, swimming swimming a 52.0 to lead off the gold medal winning US medley team. And then Zhang Yufei was just Zhang Yufei. She didn't quite do the events I thought she'd do, but she was really impressive nevertheless.
Well, I think she was... victim is not the right... I think
But she did sprinting more than the distance as well, really, if you look at it.
Yeah, I don't want to say victim because that's not the right thing, but I think she was put into the relays. That's obviously the main focus. She was taken out of the 200 fly, which she's got a very good chance of podium and potentially even winning that race. She's Olympic champion in it. To concentrate on the other. Well, yeah. And to be put in the relay teams to guarantee Chinese top 3 spot, to be automatically in with Paris. So that was an interesting one. I suppose if you're going from, you've just mentioned some of the best races. Popovich was probably someone we should probably talk about. He actually swam really well. I'm trying to remember the times off the top of my head. 47.8, I think it was, and a 1:44.9. Those times are not slow. It's just that he's racing against people that just happen to go faster. And I saw one comment where, let's just it's just it's a one-hit wonder. It's like, well, hold on a minute. You can't race amazingly every single time.
The times last summer were out of this world.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? That he hit the times he hit last time were so good. I mean, to be able to hit those again. I mean, Phelps never went that fast again after we went his 1:42. True. So it's a difficult time to replicate. I actually think he did really well considering there was a lot of pressure on him. Obviously, the target wouldn't be this Worlds, it'd be Paris, so I would hold fire on writing him off just yet. He's far from washed up. So, keep an eye on him still, of course.
Well said, well said. Okay, shall we end this podcast then with naming our swimmers of the meet? And I'm going to cop out here because it's so hard. I'm going to say we can pick a male and a female because...
Oh, good. Phew. Okay.
The names are endless.
Still difficult, mind you. I think it's a little bit easier on... That's not easy. But I'm going to go for the women's side first. God, I'm looking at the names that I've written down. I'm going to go Molly O'Callaghan for the women's side. It's not easy because Kaylee McKeown had a fantastic meet, as did Aaron Titmus. But I'm going to go with Molly O'Callaghan. And then I'm going to let you choose the men's first because I don't know. I'm stuck between two.
So my reasoning with both of my two is the long-standing world records. So you know which way I'm going. So Molly O'Callaghan to win golds. She won 2 golds when we thought she was hobbled, and to break Pellegrini's super suit world record, which was
big world record,
big time. That swim was like we write that down as like a near perfect 200 freestyle, but it's gone. And then Leon Marchand in the men's side. Yes, the 400 IM, but to back it up and win the 2 fly as well was equally impressive, and the 2 IM. It wasn't like he just won 1 gold and took down the oldest world record of all time.
Yes, so my thinking on the men's side is obviously him as well, and then Haiyang as well, because I'd
put Matt Richards up there, like as a Brit. I'd put him up there, but
absolutely, but he's not, unfortunately, not competing with the 2 triple names golds, that we've just mentioned, triple golds, world record holders. So yeah, I know. Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm very torn between Marchand and Haiyang, just because you're not supposed to win the treble in breaststroke. That just is not supposed to happen.
No.
But then you're not supposed to break Michael Phelps' world records by a second and a half either. It's a difficult one, but I don't know. It might be a coin flip situation again, but I'm going to go to Leon Marchand.
Okay, so that just about rounds up this week's episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We are going to be back over the next few weeks, hopefully speaking to some of these swimmers who have been competing at the World Championships to get their thoughts. Hopefully they range from British swimmers to internationals. We're also going to be touching upon the inaugural LEN under-23s that are happening in Dublin in a few weeks' time as we speak to one of the coaches who is there, hopefully. But if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do so on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And if you want to leave us a review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please go ahead and do so. It really helps us with all of the algorithm stuff behind the scenes and keeps pushing swimming out into further reaches. Until then, though, me and Dan will see you in 7 days' time.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next week on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.